right. I can see the stream. Sorry about that. Everything seems to be working just fine. Let me see. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm just trying to complete the setup for the stream. Just trying to add some. My camera looks a little bit weird, doesn't it? Feel free, by the way, to use the chat box on the right in order to. I'm just gonna write something. Hi, hello. So to add your questions, to add anything that you want us to talk about, and yeah, I know that my camera is super compressed, and then we can start whenever everyone is ready. First thing, how's the sound? How's my sound quality? Um, I just maybe there's something I can do about this webcam. What if I do it like this? Should be better. All right, sound is okay. There might be also a little bit of delay according to what I see here. There might be some delay. Up. All right, perfect. If sound is good, then we are ready to go. Um, Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Elias. I'm a senior solutions architect. In this channel, we talk pretty much everything about growing in the cloud, career-wise, how to get the how to pass interviews, for example, how to prepare for an interview to pass various positions in the cloud, right? Solutions architect, cloud security architect, data architect. Um, Hi, Omaima. Thank you for joining in. And then we also talk about technical stuff around the cloud. So we share architectures, diagrams, solutions to solve multiple problems in the cloud as well. And then, pretty much by sometimes also bringing news about the cloud. So pretty much we talk pretty much everything around cloud. So in this episode or in this live, I wanted to do a 1 hour Ask Me Anything live session where I will be answering all your questions live as someone who's been working in the cloud for 7, 8 years now, pretty much full time. I've worked at AWS as a senior solutions architect, and then I left AWS, and now I'm working at a global e-commerce company, and pretty much it's the same role. I'm still doing solutions architecture, and it's a little bit different, working at AWS versus working with a different with another company when it comes to the role of solutions architect, but the principles are the same. And I asked you a few days ago, to share with me some questions, that you would like me to address during this live, and I can go through them and start answering them. So even the people who ask the questions, if they're not here with us today, they will be able to see the responses, the answers a little bit later. So let me start with the first question, but also at the same time, if you have questions live, just feel free to add them to the chat box on the right, and then we will get to them. If you're just here to listen, you don't have any question in mind, you're welcome. Please just say hi, and let's get going. So let me see the first question. So Nidal says, question about SQS FIFO group ID. Are messages batched in the same group ID? All right, so Um, when you are in computer science and IT, whether you have 1 month experience or whether you have 15 years experience, there are some questions that we all Google, right? Especially those type of technical questions. I can give you a rough answer, but you know what? Even myself, I would Google this and try to find directly the link, what the official documentation of AWS says about that. Sorry, Nidal, maybe it's not the answer you were been expecting, but this sounds to me like a good question for Google. So Peter says, should I take CCNA before taking AWS Solutions Architect? Is it necessary? Actually, it's not. So that's the short answer. A solutions architect is a role that touches on a lot of things. It definitely requires knowledge about networking. Networking is the foundation of cloud. You can't have cloud without networking, and a lot of these cloud services, they are, in my opinion, just repackaged principles that we've grown to know and love and work with for the past 30 years or 40 years, right? It's just a firewall is now has a name of WAF, VPC, which is basically also just, you can think of it as your container within the cloud. But at the end of the day, it is like, no, not containers in the terms of like a Docker container, but like your logical zone in the cloud where you put your own data compute services and no one outside can access it. So it's like you have your own, I don't want to say VM, but you have like your own yeah, I would say zone in the cloud, private network in the cloud. And it's surrounded by rules, firewalls, so no one from outside can access it and stuff like that. So a lot of these concepts in the cloud are really repackaged networking. So networking is super important in the cloud. That being said, you don't need a CCNA in order to pass the AWS, for example, solutions architect interview, right? Or in order to get a job as a solutions architect. You don't need that certification. You don't need to check that box. But knowledge about networking is awesome. If you have it, that's a great bonus. Let me know in the comments if I answered your question. If not, just ask me for clarification about something or something else, and I'll just dive into it. So Bent says, starting at AWS as an associate SA next month, do you have any tips for the first week? Congratulations. That's a great milestone. My advice, and I'm sure it's going to be the advice of your manager and of your colleagues as well, is take the first 3 months to learn. I'm sure you will be eager to participate and solve problems and bring value, and that time will come. So for now, for the first 3 months, during your onboarding, just take time to go through the documentation, through all the onboarding material, to know people. Networking is super important in AWS. During the onboarding, also, you will go through some exercises where you will be teaming up with people. So, choose your, sorry, I'm just going to take 1 second. Choose the people you will team up with carefully. Networking, as I said, is super important at AWS. So yeah, you know what? AWS has its own way, or Amazon has its own way to write emails, its own way to approach customers, its own way to approach problems, and it's called the Amazonian way. So during your onboarding, you will be taught everything about the Amazonian way. And pretty much, I will say, just approach it with an open mind. Don't forget everything you know already, but be open to challenge everything that you know already. The way probably that you've been already making presentations and creating slide decks, be open to challenge it and be open to to learn more about the Amazonian way, and then you will have your own style. So that would be my advice. You'll be fine. You will have 3 months to onboard and learn about Amazon. So, take it, take advantage of it. All right. Uh, Mohammed Kashif says, hi, I am working as a DevOps engineer on a project where most of the architecture things are already set up, and most of the time we are just providing support to developers. Should I continue where I am, or should I switch, and how can I improve my skills? What should be the first certification should I choose? Great question. If you don't feel fulfilled, challenged, happy in your job, I think that's an indication of starting to look for something else, starting to look elsewhere. Um, should you leave? I don't know. That's your own. That's your own decision. Sometimes, even if the job itself is not challenging, maybe the company is a pretty great place to be. Maybe the perks are good. Maybe personal reasons, professional reasons. But at the end of the day, if you don't feel the fact that you're here and you're asking this question, I think you are not fulfilled in your job. And so I would say the market is only booming. There are a ton of open positions out there. Why not explore something else? That what I would tell myself. So like, if I was 100% happy, I wouldn't be looking outside. So the fact that I am looking, then um, there's an indication that I'm not happy. So I would say, yeah, explore. Why not? Look at what's there in the market. And as a DevOps, I'm sure you have a ton of experience, running systems, installing systems. But I would say try to, maybe there's a way to automate stuff that you guys are doing, within the company. So rather than doing some stacks, all these tags manually day after day, maybe there's a way to come up with, I don't know what you're like, maybe leverage more infrastructure as code and take some tasks and automate them, and bring in something new to the company. Maybe you can see a problem and then you come up with a solution to it. Maybe there's some work there to be done. I believe that every crisis is an opportunity for a hero to rise up. So the fact that it's becoming boring, maybe there's an opportunity there to step up and say, hey, guys, we can probably approach this in a different way, and we can rebuild this, or we can use this technology, or we can migrate this to this. Otherwise, yeah. As for which certificate, well, if you already have DevOps, I would say the AWS sysadmin, associate. Start with that. It will give you also a feel as to how to approach these certifications and what to expect, and then you can take it from there. Wavy Space, cool name. What step do you recommend for university students? I wanted to take the certification route and try to get a job and just take university part-time. What are your thoughts? All right, so this is going to be my personal opinion, right? This is how I would have approached it. Yes. Yes, I would definitely say that in our domain, in our field, experience is really valuable. Experience has a lot of weight, more than what universities offer right now, unfortunately. So I would say if you have a way to, if you can find a company, that can trust you and offer you and support you while you're going throughout this journey, like get real life experience solving real life problems, and at the same time pursue the university degree part time, that would be great. That definitely what I would have done. I don't know your personal situation and all this, what city, or I don't know about that, but this is what I would have done, because I personally, I did my engineering school, then did my first master's degree, then did my second master's degree. But when I think about it, I'm not using a lot of these things that I learned at university. And if I, rather than being like 3 or 4 years in school, if I had gotten 4 years experience working with a company, I think that would have been way better. I think, again, my opinion. Um, but it depends in a lot of other stuff. Amazon AWS has its own program for fresh grads coming directly from out of school, and AWS takes you, under its wing. You are paid. You receive a small package to actually go through the classes, and the program is called. I have a video about it. Let me try to find the name. I have a complete video where I interview someone who actually went through the program, and she graduated, and then she became, like, after the program you get directly to become, if you graduate you get to become a solutions architect. Oh yes, it's called the Tech U program, and I have a whole video about it, so let me just share that in the links. Let me share that directly with you. Yeah, up here's the link. So watch that video. I will answer a lot of your questions. All right, let's get moving. Cloud Server 22 says, what kind of work experience you need before taking AWS professional certification? Given that it's not possible to work on all AWS services, when do I say I know enough to take the exam? AWS recommends that you only take the exam after working at least a couple of years full time with on AWS, on the AWS cloud or AWS. That's because, well, there's two things to the professional, to the AWS SA Pro. The first thing is you have way more questions in the exam than the associates. I think it's 75 questions versus 60 questions. But it's still maybe the same time. I'm not sure, maybe they changed, but it was like the same time for 15 more questions. So you're actually required to have a lot of knowledge, because you can't take 5 minutes to think about the question. You're actually, the way I passed it, it was just I had enough time to read the question, read the answers, and then take maybe 10 seconds to choose the right one, check, move to the next one. You won't have a lot of time. In the essay associates, I actually had time to just flag question, then go back, then read. You won't have that time. And the second thing is questions are really long, and they have some, I don't want to say trick, keywords and trick questions, but you need to read them really carefully. Like, the whole question would be 5, 6 lines, and it will take you to a different direction. But there's one keyword that you need to be careful, because if you read it, it's actually going to completely change the answer. So the requirements that I would say you would have is you just be comfortable with designing solutions and building them and scaling them and securing them, following the well architecture review. You can't realistically master all the services that AWS offer right now. And even if you do, it's like 200 services plus. Even if you do, by the time you do, there will be more 200 other services. So don't go this route. Don't go the route of I need to master every service with every solution, with every option, with every feature. Focus on the big ones, the main ones. And then the goal of the certificate is to actually verify and approve and validate your knowledge about a lot of these services. It's fine if you don't get all the questions right? I think you only need to get 720 point. You need to score 720 over 1,000, if I'm not mistaken. I passed mine last year, so I'm not sure. Yeah, that's how I would approach it. The more experience, because that requires a lot of more real-time experience. So the more experience you have building, solving, debugging, deploying, scaling up, scaling down, it's gonna help you. But it's not really about knowing all the features about the services. It's solving real-time scenarios, because that's the type of questions you will have. All right, let's see. Nidal says, can you give an example where we use SQS FIFO group ID? I don't know. SQS FIFO group ID. So you use group ID pretty much if you want to group up, if you want to, what's the word I'm looking for? Organize, some messages, and you want to organize them and give them one group ID. I can't think of an example right now, but again, I think that's a targeted technical question, and even myself, I would go to Google for that one. All right, Awake Hi, my friend. Says, I am in security and want to pivot to cloud. My problem is figuring out what role. Every job I see has a different idea of what cloud security is, making it hard to know where to focus my studies. Security is booming. Security in the cloud is booming. I have been following closely RSA IT conference last week or the week before, and all companies, every one of them has a ton of openings, job openings around security. Security is booming. And the same thing I said around networking, I will say it around security. So security in the cloud actually is taking a lot of concepts that you already know, like around I don't know, encryption, cryptography, stuff like that, and then just repackaging them and offering them as managed services, right? Maybe right now, what you do at your job, I don't know, maybe you need to renew SSL certificates, then you do it through, CLI, I forgot the name of the service, and whatever, provide your email, whatever. Well, now with the cloud, there's just a managed service, and you need to check a couple of boxes, and it does it for you under the hood. But what I saw in RSA that is really taking the world by storm is all these new services around protecting identity, protecting information, protecting against malware, hacks, DDoS. So there's a ton of services that uses AI, ML to try to detect these threats, vulnerabilities. There's also a new thing I noticed is there's a lot of emphasis around IoT and securing all these devices that we have, smartwatch, phone, whatever, cameras, home security cameras and stuff like that, like how to secure the communication, what kind of, I would say, protocols, technologies to use to encrypt this data in transit, at rest, stuff like that. I would say, you know what? The way I would approach it is I would go on LinkedIn and start searching for positions, job openings in cloud companies, or actually, even if the company doesn't say it's in the cloud, you can assume the company is building stuff on the cloud, right? And then go through the requirements in the job position, and then that would help you tailor. That would give you an idea about which way you would take in order to uh, prepare for it. So I would move backward from, because it seems that you want to move to the cloud. So I would move backward from the cloud needs rather from where you are right now. All right, CloudSurf 22 say, can you go over the new additions for the AWS Solutions Architect exam post August 2022? I would love to, my friend. I'm sorry, I haven't followed those, but that's a good question. I will look into it. Probably I will make a video about that. Just let me take a note. I will make a specific video about that one, but I need to go through them and study them myself. So yeah, post 2022. All right. So New Kemal, cool tag, says, do you need the SA Pro to get a job with AWS as an SA? Does experience/certification in other cloud providers offset some of the deeper AWS knowledge that may be needed? I did not have the SA Pro when I joined AWS. I had the SA Associate, not the Pro. So that's your answer. You don't need the Pro. Once you join AWS, you will have a lot of time and a lot of actually help in order to prepare for these certifications. I have a video about which path to take, and because I believe that I don't believe in taking all the 15 or 16 or I don't know how many there are right now certification, just have them. Because for me, it shows that you're not focused. It shows that you're just all over the place. So I believe in knowing exactly what you want in life and then pursuing that. And it depends on what you want. For example, if you want to be a security specialist, you might want to do the solutions architect associate, then the sysadmin associate, then I would do the DevOps professional, then I would do security specialty, right? So that would be my path, because it shows that anyone who looks at your resume knows that this guy or this girl is all about security, and they focus, target, and they know what they want. I have a video where I go through different types of these paths according to what you want to do in life. And let me find the link and I can share that with you. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to leave them in the comments. I really do my best to go through the comments and answer as soon as I can. All right, let me find it. It shouldn't be. Okay, I got the link. So let me share that link with you. And there you go. This is the link of the video. All right, Mohammed says thank you. I'm happy to be of help. Okay, so CloudSurfer22 says, for every pattern you have described before, are there some open source projects, examples that describe that? Great question. I don't have them in mind. I will build a compilation. I will compile them, and let me add that, and then share those with you. That's actually a good, that's a good idea. Compilation of open source projects to apply patterns. And if I cannot find some of them, I don't know, maybe I'll take a stab at building a few of them myself. All right, so CloudSurfer says, I have an event-based microservice ecosystem. Do you have a WebSocket type of design where the consumer register an interest and will get notified by the publisher when that interest changes? I gotta think about the webhook pattern. I haven't covered that yet in the channel. So the webhook pattern where, yeah, you would use WebSockets, and then once something changes, you just send the webhook. All right. So I would say webhook pattern. Look, you could start looking at that on your end, and in the meantime, I will start looking at how to build a new episode about it. With go with use cases and diagram and completely build it in a serverless manner, the same way I've done with the other ones. All right. Okay, so another question we have from Ahmed says, hi, Elias. Hi, Ahmed. Does a solutions architect get a commission? No. I mean, no, never. Yeah, I'm thinking about all the companies I've worked with as a solutions architect. I've never gotten a commission, but maybe other companies do, because some companies consider the role of solutions architect as pre-sales, and maybe then if you get, if the sales is made, then you get a commission. But in the companies I've worked with, there's a clear definition between sales and solutions architect. So I haven't, I work with sales team to help them and everything, but especially at AWS, there's no commission. Your salary is fixed, your package is fixed, which is a good thing. Maybe a bad thing. Yeah. I would welcome a commission, especially that as an SA, you do a lot of work to get that deal signed, but companies don't look at it that way. The way companies look at it is, if we get the deal or if we don't get the deal, your package is not moved, so you're not at risk. And at the same time, you don't get a bonus if things goes good. So there's that. All right, Raghav says, what is the difference between solution design and solution architect? If you ask me, again, my personal opinion, architecture and design they overlap. For me, 90% of the time, they are the same thing, just different words to say the same thing. What I would say is there's a different, the big difference is actually between modeling and designing, or modeling and architecting. And we have a whole episode that we just finished filming with one of the companies that provide with the founders of actually a startup that provides a beautiful software to do design and architecture and C4 diagrams. So that's coming, and we're going to talk a lot more about the difference between modeling and architecting and designing and all these things, and the different tools that we have. So Yeah, I don't want to. I, I, I don't want to break the surprise. I would just say let's stay tuned for that. But to answer your question, short answer is for me they are the same. Honestly, some people might disagree, but that's my opinion. Haidar, hello. He says, working as an associate architect from last 3 years, total 11 years experience and development background. So far, I did not get exposure in Docker Kubernetes so far. How much it affects my solutions architect role? Yeah, I honestly think containerization is it plays a big role in solving problems because if you miss it, it's you know what we say, when you have a hammer everything looks like a nail. So you need to get, it's better when you have exposure and knowledge and experience with a lot of tools so you can always choose the right tool for the job. Because I think that if you miss experience about Docker and Kubernetes and containerization in general, then you will tend to overlook it and choose solutions that you are technologies that you are comfortable with. Whereas probably for some certain workloads, it's better to go with a Docker container. So just for that, I would say, yeah, go for it. Start studying it. There's a ton of great examples out there, certifications, stuff like that. It's great. It's a great tool to add to your tool belt. All right. Fresher, can I get a job in AWS? It's Yes, it's of course. Why not? I mean, if you go through if you apply, you get selected, go through the interview. Why not? And tech. There's also a program that I mentioned, the Tech Q. I left the link above. Um, yeah, let me see if it's this one, and I left the link above. So yeah, just check the first link, YouTube link that I shared, and you can see its TakeU program is a program that's built specifically for fresh grads to join AWS. Haidar says, hi Elias, I'm not able to access serverless patterns on AWS class previous video on Lighthall. Could you please help me out on this? I think the video gets deleted 3 weeks after because it's a free video. Otherwise, I need to make the class paid for you guys. Like you have to pay, and I didn't want that. But you know what? Let me reach out to my friends at Lighthall and ask them whether it has been recorded, and then I'll share that. I'll upload that here in the channel. Okay, from Lighthall. So I just took notes and I'll follow up. Ragav says, I am working in solutions and design. Can I get a job in solutions architect with that experience? It's uh, I don't have all the details, of course. Yes, you're working with solutions and design, but it takes a lot more, right, to work as a solutions architect. I would say sometimes it's a customer facing role. For example, if you work with AWS, so it takes you're gonna be tested and interviewed about your presentation skills, about how you um, um, listen to customers, solve their problems, interact with them, come back to them if you don't have the answer, stuff like that. It requires a lot of knowledge also about networking, security, data architecture, stuff like that. So there's that, like it's in my opinion, a solutions architect role is the culmination of, years and years and years of experience of solving problems at scale, coming up with solutions, and then you take all that knowledge, all that experience, and then you bring it as a service provider. You bring it to the company. You say, "Hey, I've been there. I've done that. Here's the type of problems I've solved. I've worked, I don't know, worked on mobile stuff, worked on desktop stuff, cloud stuff. I worked on applications around streaming, applications around I don't know, e-commerce applications, mobile applications. So like you have a lot of baggage. You've made a lot of mistakes. You've learned from them, and then you bring that together. And then you offer it as a service, as a package. You're a service provider. So it's not you know, designing solutions is just part of it, uh, but it's not the whole picture. A big picture, for example, is writing documentation and how to take all these ideas and write them in a way and like organize them and write them in a way that everyone in the company can understand. There's also a big part that is working with developers, and accompanying them in implementing the solution. Another part is working with business stakeholders, and getting the real requirements from them and understanding what they really want, and gathering these functional, non-functional requirements, right? So it's not only about like go into lucid chart and start putting like boxes here and there. That's one small part of it. That's just how you vehiculate, how you convey the message to others in a universal manner, but that's definitely not the whole story. All right, Anshul says, hi Elias. uh oh, message deleted. So I'm going to take some time to actually start answering messages that were added in the community tab when I asked you guys and girls what kind of questions do you have for me. So let's start by, because there's been a lot of questions about, okay, so I'm gonna just start I'm gonna sort by newest last, and let's start going through them. So Dikshant Malik says, hey Elias, firstly, thanks for insights you share. Could you please share your experience with AWS Solutions Architect presentation round? I have a virtual loop interview next week, and I don't have much information on what to expect and how to prepare for this presentation specifically for AWS essay interview. Of course, my friend, thank you for the question. And all right. And yeah, so as I was saying, presenting, especially at AWS, the solutions architect is a customer facing role. So you will be talking a lot with customers, you'll be interfacing a lot with them. So the presentation round is super important. And in the presentation round, the biggest mistake that I've seen people made is they focus a lot on the technical solution, because in the presentation round you are asked to I think present a real problem that you've had, and then how did you solve it. And a lot of people, they spend a lot of time talking about the services that they've chosen, and they dive deep in the architecture itself. My advice is that's not the goal of the presentation round, because they will get to test your technical knowledge in the other rounds, right? You will have a lot of interviews during the loop, like 5 or 4 during the day, where, trust me, they will test your technical prowess. But the goal of the presentation round is to test your presentation skills. So don't focus a lot. Don't dive a lot into the technical stuff. Focus a lot more on how you present, how you talk to because the interviews will be playing roles, right? How to talk to them, how to gather their requirements. Do you take notes or not? Do you forget what they say? What do you control your time during the presentation, or do you just forget about time and then go over time? What are the things that you address during the presentation? Are you just going to focus on technical, or are you actually going to think about finance? How much cost this solution it would how much money it would cost this solution to build, how much time it would cost this solution to build. Do you recap everyone's question at the end? So focus on presentations. Um, that's a good idea as well. Thank you. You guys are sharing with me awesome ideas for future videos, and this is pretty much why I'm doing this AMI as well. So yeah, if you're interested in knowing more about the presentation round, then I'll gladly make a video only about that. I know it's targeted, because videos like this, in YouTube, there's always a balance between what you enjoy to make as a content creator and what the community needs. But also, when you want to make a video, as a content creator, you want it to be picked up by YouTube. You want it to reach a lot of people. So usually videos like these, they're really targeted, so they don't get a lot of love, a lot of views from the YouTube algorithm. But if these are what the community needs, then by all means, So let's do them. So video about presentation round. So I will come back to the live questions. I just don't want to forget the questions that were asked beforehand. So I will do like two questions from each. All right. So Blaze says, really curious about, do we need competitive programming skills for cloud engineer or architect? Well, obviously cloud engineer. Yeah, see, my friend, companies have different, every company has a different definition of these roles. I've interviewed with a company where the job was called cloud architect, but actually they were asking me to like write code for production and stuff like that, and I was like, I think a cloud architect is someone who can write POC code, like you can write MVP to test a solution. But I would rather work with developers to write the production code. That's what they're good at, right? So yeah, but to try to answer this, you will not be tested. You don't have to go through lead code interviews, for cloud architect solutions. So maybe that answers your question. But do would having programming background and programming skills help? Definitely. Huge bonus. It will provide you with a huge bonus, because when you will be talking to different audiences as a cloud architect. When you're talking to a CFO, of course, you're talking about expenses and return on investment and stuff like that. When you're talking with developers, you want to talk their language, and you want to understand their constraints. When they say, well, there's this latency with this library and we can't do this way, you want to be able to say, yeah, I understand that, and I'm going to design something to work with that, right? So yeah, that definitely helps. All right, so let's get to another question. Abdi says, we want to know architect basics or tips to be professional architects. Great question. I'm not sure. To answer it correctly, it would take a lot more time. So it would take a whole video episode by itself. So that's a great suggestion. And please allow me a couple of seconds to write it, and we'll get to it. I'm going to try to design a whole episode just around tips and what to do and what not to do to grow in the role. All right, let's pick up some live questions. Anshul says, hi, yes, what is the turnaround time from AWS? Apply to position, but since been 3 weeks, status is application submitted, not archived yet. I don't know, my friend. It depends on the country, it depends on the position, it depends on the team. But in general, before the pandemic, it used to be around a week. But I had a real use case. A friend of mine, he didn't get an answer for like 3 months. So he had to reach out to them, and then they said, "Oh, okay, we actually, you advance to the next round and stuff like that." So I don't know, maybe it fell in the cracks, they got forgotten or something like that. So I honestly don't know. I say that 3 weeks is fine; it should be okay. Keep looking. Don't put all your eggs in the same basket. If you want to apply to a different position, a different company, keep looking at that. And yeah, give them a little bit more time. You never know. 3 weeks, especially with the times we're in, and all these changes that are happening in the world. Maybe someone is in vacation or something like that. You never know. Someone is sick or whatever. So I think that's fine. It should be fine. All right, Dominique says, would you recommend to work for AWS directly or for a consulting company which implements AWS solutions? What are the pros and cons? I think working with AWS directly has a lot more advantages. Well, just put in, we're not gonna lie to ourselves. Put in AWS in your resume, makes you highly marketable. It's because everyone knows that the bar is high to get to AWS and to stay with AWS. So if you can get in and work with them, that's a great addition to your resume. And also you will be exposed to a lot more challenges and a lot more problems to solve in a short amount of time than usually when you work as a consultant, you will be working like with one company at a time and then you help them. But when you work with AWS, you are taking over a territory and you can have 15, 20 companies in your own territory. So during the week, you are working with 20 companies at the same time, and every one of them is probably in a different industry segment, and they have a different problem to solve. Maybe some of them are trying to build a data lake. Another one that you work with in the afternoon is trying to build a live streaming service. On Wednesday, you are trying to help an architect with another company prepare for a high sales season. So you're working on scalability issues. In the afternoon, you're working with a different one who's trying to migrate from a relational to a NoSQL data. Anyways, so you're working with different companies and with different teams, different problems within a short amount of time. So it allows you to actually grow a lot and learn a lot in a shorter amount of time. That's from purely technical angle. But if you start including like work-life balance, if you start including maybe like we talked before, is there a commission or not? There's these questions are unfortunately not they're not easy to answer because there's a lot of parameters. So I don't know, to each their own, I guess. But personally, I would choose to go with AWS rather than a consultancy. All right, Haider says, how much automation constitutes in solutions architect role, like Octopus deploy, GitHub action, code pipelines? I think automation is a big thing in any role that you're doing. Anytime you can automate a task, please do it. That's a win. Anytime you can have a computer, a robot, do something for you, do it. Because it allows you to focus on stuff that the robot cannot do, right? So now, maybe your answer is, will I be writing automations? Will I be writing automated stuff? I, again, think, yes, do it. You should. The question is not, will I be, but should I? And I think, yes, do it as much as you can. Will you be writing infrastructure as code? For example, you mentioned GitHub Actions. Well, yeah. I mean, it will definitely help you. But will you do it for customers? If you work with AWS, no. You will not. One second. When you work at AWS as a solutions architect, you are not allowed to touch production environments of customers. You can't go to their GitHub and do something for them, even if they ask you, right? You can help them, you can advise them, you can accompany them, you can tell them, you can do a live session with them where they write the code and you're there to help and take their hand and whatever, but you can't do these things for them. So yeah, you can't even go to their AWS account. Like, you're not allowed. It's company policy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Safwan says, hi Elias. Hi Safwan. What would you recommend for fresh graduated students or juniors and entry level to tech working at an enterprise or large company or startups? So do you work at a large company or do you work at a startup? Tough question. I personally prefer startups when you just started because that allows you to touch everything. That allows you to be the architect, the security guy, the DB admin, the developer, the front-end developer. Allows you sometimes even, start thinking about costs, or you be like frugal. You will be writing reports. You will be doing presentations. So I would say go for startups, and then once you get a lot of experience, it will also help you figure out yourself and figure out which way you want to go. Yeah, I would say go startup, my friend. And then once you have enough, time and you know exactly what you want to do, like when I started, I did full stack development for different startups, and I've done front end. Well, back in the day when jQuery was the king, and I've done front end, I've done back end, I've done databases, and that allowed me to know that I actually didn't like front end that much, and So yeah, I would say startups. Edwin, hey, my friend. Um, if one is Azure Solutions Architect certified and have experience, is AWS easily to obtain? You know what? 100%. Yes. Concepts are the same. Names will be different. Some concepts are different if, how Microsoft uses their deals with like user authentication with their Active Directory, with ACLs, with how Linux does it with the groups, the read, write, execute. So some concepts are different, but majority are the same. One NoSQL database will have a name in AWS and have a different name there. To build data lakes, we'll have a name here, we'll have a different name there. Well, I think yes, and you will notice that also if you start interviewing for AWS Solutions Architect, they will ask you when they give you a question and they expect you, for example, to do a whiteboarding and design a solution. They will say explicitly, you don't have to use our AWS services. You can use whatever services you want, even open source ones. We are most interested in your problem solving skills, how you approach them, how you design for the cloud, right? Not about the brands and the services themselves. So yeah, I think that would definitely give you an advantage. Ayub says, are you Moroccan? Yes, I am. Um, Kaizen Day, sorry if I didn't pronounce that right, says, hi, Elias. Hi, my friend. I work as Devops with AWS EKS RDS. What do you recommend for me to become useful for the team in terms of my knowledge with AWS or things I can bring to the team? Amazing question. Yes. So I would say use infrastructure as code more and more and more to automate stuff. Let me give you an example. So AKS RDS. So let's say next time you will have to deploy a new workload that builds an RDS database, right? So probably right now you have, I don't know, Terraform, CloudFormation, whatever infrastructure as code are using. You probably have a template already ready, that you use to build a MySQL database, Postgres, whatever. So I would say take that template that builds the database and add to it another block that builds a CloudWatch dashboard to monitor the database. So next time someone deploys the database or someone asks you to create a database for them, you can say your database is ready and your dashboard to monitor the database with alarms, with metrics is ready as well, and you can keep an eye on it. Of course, RDS has its own, it provides some basic metrics in the RDS page, but if you can give them that dashboard in CloudWatch, that would be awesome, right? Um, that's something that just comes to my mind. You mentioned EKS. Yeah, so I would just say leverage your infrastructure as code knowledge to provide, the goal is promise less, deliver more, right? Under promise, over deliver. So when you are providing developers and these stakeholders, because I think developers are stakeholders. I mean, they write the code, so they have a big stake in the products. And when you provide them with more than they asked for, right? Well, that's customer obsession. That's what AWS Amazon says in their leadership principles. You're obsessed about your customers. So that's going the extra mile, and that's awesome. All right. So we have Haidar says, hi Elias, is Terraform, CDK, Pulumi, Pure DevOps segments asked in solutions architect role? No, 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 no. No one will ask you to write a Pulumi or CDK solution for them. But they will ask you to review theirs, and they will ask you to uh, provide advice on how to improve it and review it from a security standpoint and review it from a scalability standpoint. So you will not have to write them. Again, I'm talking about the role of social architect at AWS, right? Maybe can differ in other companies. No, yeah. So no one will. You won't have to pass a test to show that you know these services, but you will be asked questions about how these services work and what's the difference between them. Because you know, we don't want you. You're not a developer. You're not a YAML engineer. who's gonna spend their time writing YAML for cloud formation or whatever, but you are supposed to be an SME when it comes to building infrastructure on the cloud. So you expect to look at a template and say, yeah, this is interesting, you guys, but you forgot to add multi AZ to your database, and I believe you definitely need multi AZ for this specific workload. Well, I believe you always need multi AZ. Personally, but you see you see what I mean. I hope I answered your question. Abdeslam Lukili says, hello everyone. For someone just getting started with AWS and cloud in general with some background in dev, what would you recommend, the CCP or skipping to SAA? Um, I definitely think the solutions architect associate is the really the first certificate that anyone should get when they're looking at AWS. Honestly, um, it while preparing for it, you will definitely know whether you want to pursue this or not, because it opens the door to the ton of services that AWS offers. It opens the door to how AWS work, how the cloud work. It opens the door to the role, to know a little bit more about the role of a solutions architect. So I always, sorry, advise people to go to get to start with the SAA, and then after just do it. You know, I don't mean do it. I don't mean like get it, but I mean start practicing for it and preparing for it. And if you can take the exam, get the certificate. It's always great to have it. To add it to your resume. It's a set of skills that is highly sought after. And then after that, you will have a clear view of what you want to do next. Whether you want to do DevOps, security, data, generalist, containerization, serverless. So you'll know from there. Ayub says, can you recommend top DevOps tools to learn in 2022? Boy, I have the exact. Yeah, I read your mind, or maybe you read my mind. I've stumbled upon this article written by this great guy about specifically, like, he goes through DevOps tools to learn in 2021, and I reached out to him and I said, hey, do you want to join me? I would love to talk to you in the channel live, and we can, you present tools in your articles and all that thing. And he was happy to join. So I have that coming in the pipeline. Martian says, awesome, Martian. Are you ever afraid that your knowledge is becoming out of touch from day-to-day development and encountering real failures as you do not follow though a whole project? I'm always afraid. I wake up afraid that I'm obsolete. Talk about imposter syndrome. It's real. It hits real hard. Um, Here's the thing. Every technology is but a step to the next technology. Take whatever you have right now. Take Kubernetes. Will it be there here in 20 years? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe just it's a step to the next technology that's gonna come at the end. Come afterwards. And we usually don't think about these things because we think that we are sitting behind our computers, and yeah, this is easy. We're just gonna keep writing code and learning. But there's a limit, right? Even a limit to our brains. Like when you're 18 years old, you can't keep learning at the same pace than when you are 50 years old. It's just biology. I don't know. So yes, the anxiety about being outpaced by the industry is always there. But you have to choose your battles. And that's why you see a lot of people specialize in a couple of things. Because maybe at some point when the cloud was 50 services, you could call yourself I'm a generalist who know everything about the cloud. But now AWS has 210 services. And in 4 years, maybe they would have 400 services. I don't know. You can't keep. So this is why you see some people specialize. They say, I'm a specialist in containerization. I specialize in serverless. And I want to do everything to know everything about that specific domain. And that's going to be my bread and butter. And so I think that's way to approach this. Like choose something or security or data, right? And specialize in it, which means like you become like the the T-shaped developer or the T-shaped engineer, which you know a lot of things. You know enough to be dangerous about a lot of things, but then you can dive deep into your own specific domain. So I think that's the right way to approach it. Blaze say, is there any similarity between DevOps and software engineering? This is a trick question, isn't it? I mean, in 2022, DevOps should not be a team. DevOps is a mentality. As a software engineer, you should incorporate DevOps practices. You should build the code, but you should also be able to build and describe and secure the infrastructure on which your code runs. So I don't believe that DevOps should be a whole team. And every developer, every software engineer should know enough about DevOps. But then we come back to the T-shaped engineer. We come back to, there's so many tools. Even in DevOps, there's so many infrastructure as code services. There's so many. You can't, unfortunately, be an expert in everything. So you got to choose your battles. But I think every software engineer should know enough about DevOps. Just call it this way. All right. Kaizen Day says, great answer. Thank you. Congrats on the 10K and cheers to more. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it. So it says, what advantage could Aurora serverless have for a database needed 24/7 but spikes from time to time? I still don't think that Aurora serverless is ready for all kind of workloads. I still think that it's still in its early phases, even with the version 2. So I would say there are other ways to solve this specific problem that you have other than Aurora serverless. But the advantage, if I just want to answer your specific question, the advantage is cost, right? Then, yeah, because you pay per query, you don't pay per time of being up. And so rather than paying the same price, for the whole month, you can just pay for a small tiny amount because you don't have those many queries. But maybe I would say, yeah, maybe look at getting full Aurora engines up and running. Maybe that would solve, if you try to find the right size, maybe that would solve your problem. So like you have a small size during the month, but then if you're able to detect when these spikes are coming beforehand, so you can scale up and prepare for them, and then after that you can just scale down. I don't know. There's a lot of missing pieces there, but yeah. All right, we're already over time. I will add 5 more minutes. So let's see if we can go through these questions quickly. Haidar says, how you present architecture to clients, which is made in Lucidchart? Which one is good? Google Deck slides, PowerPoint, Keynote, whatever you want, my friend. With some customers, we used to just do whiteboarding. I'll just go there or do it through camera and just have a whiteboard behind me and just do it. Some customers, they want you to use their own templates. So yeah, the best way is whatever makes it easier and clearer to convey the message and makes the project move forward. Carlos says, is it possible to use CloudWatch or something else to monitor multiple web applications in a centralized way in AWS, for example, events, jobs? Yeah, right now, where I'm working at Essence, we're big on Datadog. Sorry. So Datadog gives you an agent, and you can install this agent on anywhere you want. So it can be on AWS. You can have a different workload in GCP, a different workload that server running in on-prem. And so that agent, once it's configured, well, it sends back all the metrics, and you have them centralized. CloudWatch also has an agent that you can install in the same way. And then yeah, so it's definitely doable. Atul, hey my friend. Congrats on your big milestone. Thank you very much. I am not surprised though. Your videos are brilliant. Many more to come. Thank you very much. I'm really humbled. Thank you. Ayub says, I have CCP certificate and I don't know what to do next, SSA, SAA, or developer, associate, or both. Can you show us the difference, please? By the way, I have a full stack dev background. All right, Ayub, I'm gonna copy your question. And you know, guys, what I'm gonna be doing is there's some super important questions that I just brushed on. I want to take all these questions and I'm gonna start doing episodes where I will answer your questions. So because some questions need graphs, links to be properly addressed. So apologies, Ayub. I will not be able to answer your question right now directly, but I will get back to it, I promise. Carlos Jr., back to imposter syndrome, which I can relate to. Have you ever had a session with a customer or colleague where you could not reply most of their questions? If so, how did you feel? How did you behave? Well, I think that you should always be honest, and no one expects you to know everything. And you should not be afraid to say, I don't know, when you don't know. But it's just about the way to handle it. So, yes, I definitely had questions from customers where I didn't know the answer. And I think the best way to answer it is to be honest about it. I would say like, I don't know the answer. That's a good question. I don't know it, but uh, I will get back to you on it. And you take the question, you take a note, and then you do your research on it, and then you get back to them either with an email or with a call or whatever. As I said, I prefer, even when I interview people, and if I give them a question and I know that, for example, they would not know the answer because it's a question about a new service that just was released, or it was a feature that completely comes from a different. The interviewer will definitely know when you're trying to BS them versus when. So it's just better to say I don't know, and but with the knowledge that I have, here's how I would approach it. That's a great attitude as well. You say I don't know, but from what I can gather from your question, from my experience, this is how I would approach it. But if you need a specific answer, I need to take some time to get back to you. And yeah, imposter syndrome is real. Trust me. Whether you have 20 years experience or whatever, it just stays with you. Humans. Carlos, great book suggestions in your channel. Congrats and keep going. Thank you very much, Carlos. I have more books to review in the channel. I'm going through a few of them, and I'll have probably more reviews in the channel. All right. So we have two more questions, and I really apologize, guys. I can't address more questions, so I'll just have these two. But the other ones, I will get back to them. I will do more videos where I address these, not live, but like I will take the time to prepare them and then address them. So, okay. Cookie and cream choco. After years of being a solutions architect, what could be the next role out of AWS? A lot of people, what they do is they can join startups as CTOs. Trust me, when you work at AWS as a solutions architect for years, you can go to a different company and handle their all IT department. Not bragging. It's just the pace of innovation at AWS and the problems that you are faced with every day, and how the company pushes you to learn more. Like pretty much every week, every day, there are training sessions to learn about services. All employees are empowered to build stuff for reInvent, for example, for Reinforce. So what I see is a lot of people after leaving AWS, they would start their own company, or they would join a big company, and I don't know, I see a lot of people join banks and taking care of a whole IT department, right? That's something that I see. Other than that, it's up to you. You can specialize. Some people become VPs of IT, VP of engineering. Some people become CTO. Some people just like because a solutions architect role is a career role. Like, I want you to keep that in mind. Some people just want to be solutions architects for all their career, and that's a perfect position to be. It's really a career role. So yeah, you don't have to, just change and go somewhere else. Alvin, been researching, and because of you and several others, I've decided to get into AWS. Great move. Gonna start a Devops program and see how it goes. A little nervous as I don't have prior IT experience. We'll see. Listen, do it. If you get nervous about something and you're excited about it, that's more of the reasons to do it. Do it. Um, yeah, and I, the goal of the channel is to help people like you, and I'm always trying to make like videos that could address these kind of questions. So if you have any questions that comes, if you have a suggestion, just let me know, and I'll get to them. Samuel says, "Hi, yes, congrats for the 10K subs. Thank you very much. I'm really, really, really happy." Haidar says, "Great, thanks, Ilyas. You have answered my 5 quiz in this MA. You are really such a great human being." Thank you. Thank you very much, Haidar. I really appreciate your words. And Blaze says, "Really liked your content. Keep making awesome videos on cloud computing as it helps a lot." Yes, I will try my best. Thank you very much, guys and girls. I really appreciate you being here with me. I appreciate your presence, your questions. Keep them coming. Um, Definitely, when creators say, thank you, I couldn't have made this without you, they really mean it. Like, I used to think that, it's just words, but they really mean it. Like, if no one interacts with the videos, if no one gives suggestions, if no one commented, if no one says what they want to see, there would be no content creation. It would just be people in their own head building stuff that they think is good. So I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your presence with me. We'll do more of these sessions if you guys like them. And yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and have a good one. Now I'm going to go to watch the Formula One in the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the first time in my life. So I finally got the ticket. So I'm gonna jump right now and watch that and talk to you guys later. Bye.